And welcome back to the Jason Show Home Edition. She's another one of our friends, and we haven't heard from her in a little while, and especially now that we've all been in quarantine. From Dave Ryan in the Morning, please welcome our good friend back to the show, Miss Falen. Hello, Falen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Well, let me guess, are you in Dave Ryan headquarters? It looks like that's where you are.
I am. So we typically, obviously, we do our show in the studio, but once everything happened, everyone here was assigned like their own studio. And then Dave and they put us in the performance room, like when we have artists perform at the radio station. So we've been in here in the performance room the whole time with like desks that look at each other, but 6 feet apart.
Well, okay, there's worse things. Well, I was going to ask you, because obviously we're going to get to the baby, and we'll talk about Jake too. But we haven't heard, what has it been like? I mean, people that watch this show have heard me talk about what's it like doing our show remotely. What's it been like for you and Dave?
Yeah, it's been just so weird because typically Dave would run the board, like turning our microphones on stuff. Well, Steve, our producer, he's been doing that in a different studio. We can't see him. We've tried to do like the FaceTime with him, which we do, but we're just not used to it. So we don't even really look at each other often on that. So it's, Dave and I are the main ones that talk on the show. So it was important for us to be able to see each other because you can kind of see where someone's going by face or the motion. So it's just been very unique doing the show like this. And it's been a lot more because we changed our hours actually. So we typically would be done at 10 a.m. Now we're done at 11 a.m. And we don't know when that's going to end. So it's been very unique.
Yeah. Well, and you guys are such pros. And obviously, to talk about Dave for just a second, I got to ask him too, how has he been doing with this? I mean, because he's been in this biz for so long. He's seen it all. How is he doing?
He's good. I mean, he's very, we took a lot of precautions earlier on. And I mean, he was very aware of that. He even tried, he didn't want to, but the company was like, let's have Dave do the show from home. And he tried that for a little bit, but the show wasn't the same. We had a lot of delay issues. And, Dave has worked really hard to have a good show. So he was like, you know what? I can't do the show from home. So he, kind of risked it. And he decided to come back in and do the show here. So he's just been very cautious of everything. Like everyone else, really trying to encourage people to wear their masks. We're all a little confused with the lack of wanting to wear a mask to help others out in our community. But, like you said, he has seen it all. But this is him because nobody has seen anything like this.
I flipping subjects for just a second. Have you flown with Dave?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because for those who don't know, Dave Ryan is a pilot, and I see the Instagram photos sometimes, and Falen and I are like real friends, as I say on the show. I don't know if you know this about me, but I have a fear. I used to have a severe fear of flying. I still have a fear of small planes. Do you? And how was it flying with Dave?
So it's I don't have a fear of flying in general, but the small plane, I was like, you have to land immediately. I got really sick. It was crazy. I'm going to be sick. He was like, oh, let's go look at this high school. I'm like, I can't look at anything. We have to land. I've discovered that about myself though. Small planes, helicopters, I just get very woozy, so I can't do it. I've also flown with him on a regular plane, and let me tell you, Dave is the person who, this is just one example he'll kill me over. I went somewhere with him and Steve. We're sitting on the plane waiting for 2 more people to come on the plane. Guess who the 2 people were? Steve and Dave. And they arrived with hot sub sandwiches because they were running late because they had to get their hot subs. So they're the guys on the plane just opening up their like tuna melt.
That stinks.
I know. That was one time. I mean, Dave is obviously usually not like that, but I never let them live that down.
Don't you love it, the people that are on the plane that they don't just get food, they have to get like the grossest smelling food in the food hall.
I'm like, I didn't realize they had a fish fry going on at the airport, but you found it. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing some cod on the plane. Okay, now we're gonna get to the baby in the next segment because we need time to talk. So I will politely ask about Jake first. How Jake is Falen's husband / my secret husband, but I didn't say that. My mic was off there. But how's Jake doing?
He's good. He's still very, very attractive. He's been working from home this time, and it's been so great because now, like, I think it's his nightmare. I can come home, sit on the couch, and be like, Jake, can you get me a spindrift from the refrigerator that's up here next to me? And he's like, this is my life now. But no, he does help with like the baby throughout the day and stuff, which is a nice, change up. And he likes working from home.
Well, you've heard, I'm sure you guys have talked about it on Dave Ryan in the Morning. The divorce rates are up. People are bickering at each other. I was curious, you and I really haven't talked about this. How are you and Jake getting along? Because I've been pretty open. Colin and I have butted heads a few times over the quarantine.
Surprisingly, very well. It was like really good in the beginning. And now going into like June, I was getting a little crotchety where I did the whole, I never ever even get, an hour alone in this house to myself. And he's like, I don't either. And I'm like, yes, you do. Because the baby goes to my mom's during the day. I go to work. He's there. He's like, yeah, but I'm working. It's not like alone time where I'm enjoying myself. And I'm like, yeah, but this house is never empty. Just get the baby in the car seat and just like go on a drive for like an hour, It's like, so everyone needs alone time. This is, you just do as much as you love your person to the moon and back, but it's like, you have to have your space.
Yes, as Mariah Carey on QVC, I need a fragrant moment. I just need a fragrant moment. Okay, Falen's sticking around. When we come back, we're going to talk about the baby, how motherhood has been, and much more. Stay there. Back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. More with our buddy Falen from Dave Ryan in the Morning on KDWB. And by the way, thanks, let's just be very honest, thanks to the powers that be on both sides for letting us appear together. That's very nice of you. So I wanted to ask you about motherhood. Let me start by asking, what's been the thing that has surprised you the most, that like you had a concept of that has totally been different?
Totally been different. I think I've learned a lot of things from motherhood. The first thing I learned is just how important the people are in your life. Like once you especially first have a baby, which Olive is now like basically almost 10 months old. So she's been around for a while. But I thought about how when I had friends that were younger than me, because I waited till a little bit later in life to have a baby. These friends that, I should have been a better friend to. I just didn't realize how important it was to reach out to those people and honestly just drop off a bowl of Panera soup and a Starbucks coffee on their porch and leave. Drop a bread bowl on her porch and go. Just has something she can eat quick. And I just look back at that, and that was the biggest thing I just didn't realize. I thought they want all this. They need alone time with their baby, and they do, but it's good just to have someone check in on you or just drop a coffee off on your porch. You know what I mean?
That is really nice of you. That that's really nice of you, but that's a good realization to have. It's the small things. How is it being we're living in an era, and this, with social media where, you're critiqued for everything. What is it like for you being a public person that's very active on social media, being a mother in the era that we're living in?
I will say that I was a little bit worried when I talked about, I didn't breastfeed for very long, and people are very adamant now about that, doing it. And I was really afraid people would come after me, but I also wanted to be honest that, look, you know what? I did it for a couple of weeks, and I didn't do it longer than that, and I'm not going to pretend like I did. I'm not going to pretend like I'm perfect. And but people didn't. They understood, and they were nice. And I've had people give me very kind feedback. So, but
I love Falen. I have had people give me kind feedback. That's a really polite way of putting it.
But people have been, I think that they're used to seeing people being mom shamed and they don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And they just genuinely care. So I actually will say it has been a very lovely experience. Like the first time I posted, like I learned very early on, don't post a photo of your kid in a car seat, because no matter what, people will say if they're in there wrong. But when I had that, they were very kind. Like, hey, just make sure that bar is a little higher up. I'm like, okay, cool. And I had one of her like in like kind of a snowsuit. They're like, you're not supposed to put babies in with like a bunch of extra padding. I had no idea. So it wasn't mean. It was just, hey, letting you know. And I appreciated it.
Yeah, don't you think, Fallon, well, with anything, but especially the topic of parenting, it is about the way people put it, right? I mean, even though you can't
Yes.
hear inflection on Twitter and Facebook, it is about the wording, and it's about coming at it from a place of actual kindness and not from a place of judgment, don't you think?
Absolutely. When you can always tell when someone is giving you genuine feedback. And genuine feedback is important, because none of us need to hear like you're perfect and you're beautiful all the time, because that is also a bad situation to be in too, because then you start believing that you're perfect and no one is.
Yeah.
But you can, anyone can tell immediately from like the first sentence or two from someone if it's just kind of hateful or if it's from a genuine good place. So your wording is very important, obviously. Yeah.
How do you handle, I talked recently, and people really responded to this part of the conversation. I recently talked to our mutual friend, Chris Hockey, and I was talking to him about just social media in general and how you handle it, and you handle the negativity. And how do you and I have discussed this many times
Yeah.
privately, but do you have any advice, even for a kid watching that may not have public jobs like the two of us have, but just what are some tools that you use to block out the crap that is sometimes out there?
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I'm really great at that right now,
I know.
and or ever. And I really try. One thing I have personally stopped doing is I have stopped looking for stuff.
Mm,
So I used to look for it, but I think that the term ignorance is bliss sometimes is the truth. And so, you know, I would see that I was part of like someone, maybe like a news article about me came out. And I used to go look at the comments. And of course, there are going to be mean comments about me on there. And it would kill me. So now, honestly, I don't even look at the comments on those. On my own posts, I do look, and those I just block people, because it's like, you know what? You don't get to say that on my page. You don't get to make this like a negative troll site. And I delete and I block them. But I think that you're allowed to give those comments a moment of your time, because they hurt. And that's, to anyone that claims that they can completely ignore it or they don't bother them, I can't imagine that.
no, I don't believe you. Yeah.
Can't give your entire day to someone. And I've done that in the past. I've let it ruin entire days. And it's just, most of the time you have too many good things going on in your life to allow any damper from someone else that doesn't know you at all.
Well, because isn't it, Fallon? I try to think about this, and it's like, it should anger you, because what you're doing is you're giving that person a lot. This person that is rather vile, you're giving them a lot of power over your day,
Oh, yeah.
and that's what I try to think about, and to forget. I mean, because that's really what you're doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just, they always say things like, it's a hurt person. Well, you know what? It still hurts when they hurt me in return. So I guess they're objective. They've vetted. I don't know, but I really talk to Jake about it a lot, because he just is very logical and I'm not. I'm emotional. So, so it's really important that I had that logical person to kind of be like, even if it's one comment, Fallon, think of all, like, that's, even if it was 100 comments, that's not even a percentage of your audience. So it's okay.
Isn't it fascinating how Jake's absolutely right. You will give so much attention to one negative comment, but
Mm-hmm.
there could be 8,000 great comments that you won't give any emotional weight to. I find that fascinating.
It's true. I don't know why we work like this as humans, but we do. Even on my job interview, I remember Dave asked me, what's a big flaw about yourself, or what's something, and I said, I care too much what people think. And I do, because we all want to be liked. But a lot of people get to a point in life where they're like, I don't care what those people think. They don't know me. I only care about, my circle, what they think about me. And I hope I get to that point someday in my
How long do you, final question, how long do you see yourself in broadcasting, and has motherhood changed your perspective on that?
No, motherhood, it hasn't changed my perspective. I hope I can do it as long as I want to. You know what I mean? Like, so if right now, I have this idea of like, oh, well, I'm sure I'll retire at some point in like my 50s or early 60s, right? So I hope that I can do it as long as I want to. And it's not something where I'm pushed out because of age or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know this, but I'm just going to say it because, going back to comments, I didn't ask that question like you have to choose. I just meant, my buddy Alexis, things have been reframed for her, not career, but motherhood reframes things. And I find that fascinating. So that's why I wanted you to know the intent of that question. So, yeah.
Having Olive has definitely rearranged my priorities. I've always put my career before everything. I'm talking everything. I'm talking before relationships. And now that's not the case.
Yeah.
That's important to me because I've worked hard for it and I will continue to work hard for it, but it's not as important to me as my daughter,
Absolutely. Well, you can listen to Falen and, of course, Dave Ryan and Dave Ryan in the Morning on KDWB. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Tell Jake I'll call him later today.
Oh, perfect. Speed dial.
Yes. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this, everyone.